Welcome back to another UNC football recruiting podcast here on TarHeelIllustrated.com. And if you're checking us out on our YouTube channel, Tar Heel Illustrated, I'm PHI publisher Andrew Jones, and joining me as she always does when we talk Carolina football recruiting is our very own Miss Deana King. And Deana, huge day for North Carolina, although not a surprising day for North Carolina. 18 members of the class of 2021 are in. The Carolina recruiting ranking, I guess, is around 16. Lisa started the day at 16. It's going to maybe bounce around a little bit as things play out around the nation. I wouldn't worry too much about that. What is important for UNC football is Mack Brown and his staff got 18 kids that they want, and they zeroed in on, and they've had, other than Bryce Nesbot, who committed here recently, they had 17 of these kids in for a while. They took care of most of the class in the summer, and with the NCAA allowing kids to not have this year count against them and to come back and get the year over again next year, it kind of changed a little bit of the approach for the rest of this class. So they're at 18. What are your thoughts real quickly about the class? And before we do that, I just want to let everybody know, we're going to hit on a few different things in this podcast. We're going to get 5 of your sleepers, if you will. We're also going to get your franchise member of the class. We're going to hit on that a little bit later. But first, your thoughts in general. The 2021 class, 18 kids are in the books.
Good class. This is Mack's second, I'm going to call it second big time class. His first one was good. And then, when the coaching transition, and then 2019, he had a great class. This is even better. This group is a close-knit bunch, very close, very vocal. I can't say a lot about them because, their actions speak. They've got 11 4-stars in this class. When has UNC had 11 4-stars in a class?
And they have a 3 who may end up a 4.
Out of 18. One. So, that's big. And like you said, they got an early start. And so they've done a heck of a job to fend off a lot of schools, because some of these guys have been committed a long time. And they've been, a lot of other schools have been trying to lure them away, but they've only lost, I believe, Jared Wilson, who he had flipped multiple times. So
they went back to who he flipped from to begin with.
So just a good group, a variety, offense and defense, and so 18 kids. Mainly from North Carolina.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. And I think with the COVID situation, Deana, with the kids not being able to go anywhere, the dead period's been intact since March. The dead period right now is intact until the middle of April. So it's going to be about a 13-month dead period. And I'm not going to say, I don't want to say COVID helped Carolina or anything like that. COVID didn't help anybody. However, because of COVID, these kids weren't able to maybe make some of the moves. If they could have been interested in another school and just wanted to check it out. And we've seen committed kids in the fall check out programs before. They couldn't do it. So, and that I think kind of helps cement this stuff. And the kids, the way that they communicated so much on social media, that they really went heavy on that kind of communication with each other, because they weren't really able to see each other a whole lot. And some of the kids have told you about their chat groups and about how close-knit they've all become, even though they're miles and miles and miles apart. And I think that was an interesting dynamic once they got a lot of these kids in the class, got them committed, how they kept building, they kept lifting each other up. They kept strengthening that bond. Sometimes people think, well, the communication is to get a kid to commit, and then it's not as strong. This group picked it up even after the commitments.
This group, with the no showtime camps, a football season, these kids found ways to come together. And it's kind of funny. A lot of these kids came together at basketball events because they're multi-sport stars. You see Diego Pounds playing basketball at an event with Keyshawn Silver and Dontavius Nash and Gabe Stevens, and they used that opportunity to recruit Diego, and eventually he did commit to UNC. These 7-on-7 football camps and stuff, you'd see Drake May, you'd see Gavin Blackwell, you see Dontavis Nash, RahRae, all these kids, they were intermingling. So, and then Nesbot was at these 7-on-7, so they were recruiting Nesbot. So these late additions were constantly being recruited by the recruits at these events.
I would say it's fair to say that this group has their own culture, and the culture is now transitioning into what Mac has established in Chapel Hill. Okay, I'm going to ask you who your franchise member of the class is here at the end of the podcast. Right now, I'm going to ask you your 5 sleeper picks. Now, you've already told me who they are, so I'm going to go one by one through these kids and just tell everybody why. And let's preface it by saying that you really like all these kids, but I made you pick 5. And it's not a ranking order. It's just 5 you think are sleepers in the class. So let's go ahead and start with Caleb Hood, someone you've talked a lot about. You think he's been very undervalued during this whole process.
Correct. I'm in the Caleb Hood fan club, have for a long time. He just a special athlete, and I'm going to throw a comparison out. Maybe he's not the exact type of player, but he reminds me a lot of Chaz Surratt. I mean, the kid will be good in anything he plays. It's ping pong, it's horseshoes or chess or whatever. Caleb Hood is an athlete, and wherever he ends up playing, he's going to start out at running back. He's played quarterback all of his life. He's going to do good for UNC wherever he is. He's transitioning to the running back position. So he's number one. I know you said not to rank him, but he's my number one sleeper. I've made no secret about it.
Well, I think it's also because
top athlete in the state of North Carolina, pure athlete, not football, not basketball, just athlete.
Yeah, and I think it's fair that
pick a player to start a team with, any kind of team, I'm going to go with Caleb Hood.
And it's okay having him number one because you've been on the record saying that for a long time that he's highly undervalued in this process. Okay, how about Gavin Blackwell? You mentioned him a few minutes ago. He's really well respected, highly rated kid. So why is he also on your sleeper group?
He was beneficial his I believe sophomore and junior years of having Sam Howell there throwing him the pigskin. So he did have a lot of big numbers and everything. Then he had a new quarterback, I believe, last year, and with the pandemic, not getting to play. So his numbers were not as big as they was when Sam was there. So he's got something to prove. He did outstanding in the 7-on-7 series and stuff that the Carolina Stars played in it. And he's at that position. He's in a county that's produced a lot of good football players, and he's a wide receiver. So he's going to make plays. He's got great speed, and he's grown. He's gotten bigger. And Tar Heel fans are, they're going to enjoy watching Gavin Blackwell when he gets out there on the field.
Trayvon Stevenson did not wow a lot of people when Carolina got his commitment. He kind of came in from the outside looking in at really that process was very quick how that transpired when Carolina escalated its recruitment of him and he went ahead and flipped to the Tar Heels. But you have him on this list as well. Before you answer, I think that to me, there's a little bit of Cayman Rucker thing going on here where it was a pickup that people didn't really, we'll see. If the staff likes him, then he must be pretty good. But it didn't wow a lot of people. And we saw the impact Cayman had this year. I mean, he played 25 snaps in the Syracuse game, and he's been consistent. He's graded 70 or above in all but one game on PFF. So you have Trayvon Stevenson on this list. is that kind of how you're seeing things? A little bit of the Cayman Rucker stuff going on here.
I'm going to say he is a tweener. That's a common term with kids. You really don't know where they may use them. He has outstanding work ethic. He's a Virginia Beach kid, and after he committed to UNC, I follow him on social media, and who goes to the beach to work out? You know, he's out there running in the sand and doing all kinds of stuff. And I know deep down in his heart, he truly wants to play for UNC. I know he had a lot of, he was committed to Old Dominion. He was committed to Pitt, and he's finally found where he wants to be. And in talking to him, he is so excited to be a Tar Heel. And when kids are so excited and that's their dream to play for their dream school, it's just kind of special. And he is in a position. He may be one of those hybrid type kids that Jay Bateman Lug. They don't have we don't have a specific position. I would love Coach Bateman to name that position, but we kind of name it as hybrid outside linebacker, defensive end.
I'm just going to call it football player. Defensive football player. That's the position.
I mean, people look at stars, which you don't need to pay any attention to stars. If Matt Brown, a Hall of Fame coach, wants a kid to play for him, I don't care if he don't have any stars.
If stars mattered, Javonte Williams would not be at North Carolina or anywhere in the Power Five. And
he may be playing for Yale.
If Javonte leaves, they're going to have three guys that had no star rating going into their last high school game in the NFL, because Cole Holcomb's in the NFL, Mac Hollins is in the NFL still, and will be for a while. And then, of course, Javonte Williams. So people don't need to overvalue star ratings. By the way, if you go to Venice Beach in California, you see people working out, but that's a freak show. So I only advise going there just for the entertainment value and nothing else, and get out of there quickly. Another one of the kids on your list, Bryce Nesbot. We talked a lot about him this summer. You saw him a couple of times, and I loved your comparison. And again, we're not saying when we do these comparisons to other players that, hey, they're going to be that good. It's just the way they play stylistically, the mannerisms, what they remind us of. And you texted me and said he's got some Eric Ebron in him. You saw him at a 7-on-7 down in Rock Hill, I think it was, in June. You saw him a couple more times, talked to him a bunch of times, and you kept telling me all along, he may like UCLA, but he really likes North Carolina. It may come down to a situation where he wants to stay fairly close to home. So Bryson Nesbot also made your list.
Nesbot was a sleeper. I mean, you look at the list and he was there, and I had not seen him until I had went down to Rock Hill, and like you said, came away impressed. He was not on the stars with the other Carolina recruits and commits. He was on another one, so I got to watch him a little bit, and just his manners. And I mean, he if you hadn't said he was a tight end, I kind of would have feared him as a tight end, because he wasn't skinny, he wasn't too big, he was just he looked like a tight end, and he's a basketball player, so he's got great footwork. I saw him make a couple incredible plays where he just was too big for the DB that was covering him. He just overpowered him and made an awesome one-handed grab. And so that's kind of where I kind of liked Ebron, because Ebron was a freakish athlete. And then you look in Carolina history of the tight ends that they've had, Ekebon, Freddie Jones,
Algie Crumpler,
all those. And I was like, man, he kind of makes me walk through memory lane seeing some of those plays that he did. So Carolina, I was really high on him, and I swore, I was like, man, he looks a little bit better than a 3-star, and he eventually got that 4-star here in the latest Rivals updates. So
Carolina just had to deal with Brevin Jordan here this past weekend of Miami, and he's a guy that's too big for the DB and too fast for the linebacker. And when I watch Bryce Nesbot, I see a little bit of that in him as well. Eli Sutton, an offensive lineman from Tennessee, also is on your list. I know that you interacted with him a ton over the last year. So what do you like about Eli Sutton? Why is he on this list as well?
Well, he is one of the very few Tar Heels that actually got to play their senior season. Yeah. Him along with Kobe Paysor that crossed the border to Gaffney and J.J. Jones at Myrtle Beach. So Eli, they had an outstanding season up there at Brentwood Academy. Got upset. I thought they were heading for a state championship, but Eli was an anchor for them. Their rushing game was really good the past 2 seasons. So linemen, AJ, they're hard to judge because we've seen in the past some kids come in highly ranked. And when they get to the college game, it things happen and
it doesn't translate.
You can see some lower ranked prospects come and do outstanding. But I like Eli. I think he is going to be a solid offensive lineman. They don't have to rush him in because they're going to have everybody basically back from the starting offensive line. So he'll possibly get some good reps. We've seen Caden Baker and some of the other younger guys get in some reps. So Eli, I think he is eventually going to be a good one for Coach Searles.
And by the way, if you're into social media and you don't mind following a lot of these kids and you kind of get some enjoyment out of that, if you don't follow Trayvon Stevenson and Eli Sutton on Twitter, you should start doing that. They're both really interesting, fun, very prolific posters on what Roy Williams calls Tweeter. So, okay, you said that you would start a team with Caleb Hood, but I'm going to ask you the franchise guy, which I think is a different question because you may start a team with Hood, but down the road, you want your franchise guy to sort of become the dude who flourishes. So who is your franchise guy in this class?
There's several candidates, but the very familiar name in North Carolina athletic history, and it's Drake May, your quarterback. He's the focal point of the whole football program, and Carolina's going to have a good one. I've watched Drake. It's just something about him. I know I'm a huge Sam Howell fan. Watch Sam the same way. I think Drake is just going to be a continuation of the quarterback prolificacy, if that's even a word. So Drake, I think
you can make it a word here. There's no rules against that, Deana.
Oh, I with my accent, I don't even know how you would spell proficiency or whatever I just said.
We're gonna have a THI Deana King lingo pamphlet we can put out there, and that will be one of the first words listed.
Yeah, but I hadn't got you and Jacob back for that little the dandies that I missed from was it Western Carolina?
Yeah.
Now AJ takes a little bit stream in my accent, but I got a chuckle.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I got a chuckle out that, but yeah, Drake May, I think he's just he's going to excel in Coach Longo's offense. He's going to have the same amount of weapons like Sam has had, and we're going to just see and not taking anything away from any other current Tar Heels on the roster because anything can happen. But hey, I really am high on Drake May.
I'm going to throw you a curve real fast here. We didn't plan on this one, but I'm going to give you my answer first. The guy that you can't wait to see on the field next year, just because you're really curious to see where he's going to be in week 1 and where he's going to be in week 8. I'm going to give my answer, and that's RahRae Door. I can't wait to see what he becomes. We've interacted with him a lot. He's a really, really good kid. Enjoy watching him enjoy the process. And he's a freak athletically. And I think that Jay Bateman is just licking his chops waiting to get that kid on the field and just kind of see how things fall into place for him.
I agree with you. You stole my answer too, because I've seen RahRae all this past year. And you know, one thing I would love to see him do, and I don't know, I mean, with, you know, he's listed as linebacker, he could possibly, I've seen him line up at these camps and play some cornerback, some safety. But would you not want to see RahRae Dilworth returning kickoffs?
He's a football player. He's that new position football player.
Kid runs a 4.34.
Yeah,
Who's going to
freak athlete?
He's got great hands. He's not this, you know, you see a lot of people, oh, he plays defensive back because he's not a wide receiver. He can't catch him. RahRae is a playmaker. I want to see RahRae, what he can do on the field on Saturdays. And just his demeanor, he is firecracker. That's what I'm going to call him.
If fans are going to enjoy watching him play, and they're going to enjoy his interview.
I mean, there are several players, and I know we didn't mention everybody. Keyshawn Silver, I got to throw out the ace recruiter of the class. He has held it all together.
Another basketball player who will get a shot to actually play with Royce on Roy's team next year.
Yeah, I ought to send in the Rivals Keyshawn Silver as the main recruiter for UNC this year. Jabari Ritzy, he is going to be added in there on that defensive line. That's that young bunch that's going to be the start of this Matt Brown's, you know, his historically D-line. You see all those 1 and 2 platoon units that he has. Jabari Ritzy is going to be there. I've got to see Tamir Brown and Camaro Edmonds. They're going to bring their skills. And don't forget about Dontavius Nash and Gabe Stevens.
Dontavius Nash was the first commit in this class, Deana.
And then
he committed at the end of Showtime in June. It was a year and a half ago, and he stayed solid on his commitment. He's not out there in the way that RahRae and Keyshawn are, but he's been a really important part of building this class and keeping it together as well.
Kobe Paysor, he got his season in. He's going to be an offensive threat, another one in Coach Galloway's stable. And then another kid that I'm really excited to see what he brings, because I think we will be saying his name a lot in future years, and that's Power Eccles. What a name. What a name for a linebacker, Power. Yeah. He's bringing the power. Now, Carolina can have an all-name team with a Power and a Storm and a RahRae out there. Now, Jay Bateman ought to be just licking his chops when he gets this bunch in.
18 members of the class of 2021 are in the books for North Carolina. I think that this is an excellent class as far as the number of kids, the percentage of these kids that are going to end up playing a big role in what they do at North Carolina. It would be a higher ranked class if they took more kids, because they would have gotten more similar kids, but they cut it off at 18. And I think that their staff is very, very happy with this group. She's Deana King. I'm Andrew Jones. You've been watching another UNC football recruiting podcast right here on TarHeelIllustrated.com and Tar Heel Illustrated on YouTube. If you haven't been to our site, go check it out. We have a ton more on our site. Thanks for stopping by.